Greetings, shippers, and welcome back to another episode of Fanversations. Yes, I know, it's been a while. Today we're joined once again by Andrea of Zonko Videos, and we're going to be talking about Hogwarts, a mystery game. Yes, the, at the time when we recorded this, recently released Harry Potter mobile phone game. We're late. We know. I will, of course, as always, have all of her links down below so you can check out her stuff if you're interested. And I now also have to say, for all of you who have filmed Fanversations with me, they are coming. I'm sorry that I've been so slow. I'm getting back on it. The ball is rolling. The routine is happening. You'll be seeing them coming up soon. Relatively soon. You know what soon means for me, but it's happening. So for this Fanversations, it's discussing not only this game in particular, but mobile games, microtransactions, gaming, Harry Potter, J.K. Rowling, and a whole bunch of other things in general. So if that sounds interesting to you, then please stay tuned and listen to this Fanversations.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I'm here with Sasha from...
Hi! How's it going?
Good. So it's a shipper's guide here, and
Yes.
Andrea Zonko Videos.
Are you ready to talk about the latest addition to the Harry Potter fandom?
Oh yeah, totally. I was gonna wear a Potter shirt for this, but I ended up wearing my Mega Man shirt. So let's talk about
Harry Potter, a Hogwarts Mystery?
Hogwarts Mystery. Yeah, that's a long name.
How quickly did you download it once it was released?
Immediately, day of, like a crazy person. At like 2 in the morning, I couldn't sleep, and I was like, "Oh my God, it's April 25th! Download!"
So how far are you?
I'll be honest, I'm not that far, just because with my exams and stuff, I haven't. And I don't like playing video games on the trains, unlike many other gamers who are like, "I'm just gonna sit here and play." I'm like, I don't find that fun. I prefer to play it in my house.
Mm-hmm.
And just chill on my bed and play on my phone. So I've only gotten to, still on first year. I'm up to the broomstick lessons, the flying lessons.
Okay.
I picked Slytherin House.
As did I.
Because I was like, I'm going to do all the houses, but my plan is to do Gryffindor last.
Yeah.
So I'm going to play the game a lot, like a crazy person. And I named my character Mafalda Pruitt. But I noticed it doesn't let you name, like in the commercial it showed people naming their characters like Hermione Granger, and like they don't allow you to do that.
No, they don't. Like, actually, my first, they wouldn't let me go through. My character's named Carmen Steers, but I forget what my first last name was, but they just wouldn't let it. And I was like, why? Then I was like, okay, fine. She's Carmen Steers now. I don't understand why you wouldn't let me name her what I
What was
wanted.
the original last name?
I don't even remember anymore, but I just remember it was like not available, and I was like, oh, okay, fine. Thankfully, I create characters all the time. You will not thwart me. I have many names.
So why Carmen Steers?
No reason. I always just basically pick a name that I feel like I will enjoy going through the universe in, and then I kind of try and shape a personality around the name, which then impacts how I make the character look. So I was just like, what do I want? How am I going to play this? I was like, I'm going to be in Slytherin. I'm going to be hardcore. And I'm going to try and go through and cause as much Hogwarts havoc as possible. I'm going to be... And I started thinking about, like, where in the world is Carmen Sandiego for some reason. And I was like, okay, Carmen...
I figured that's where you got it from. I was like, yeah. Steers, is that because your Patronus?
No, mine is my Patronus. My Patronus is a stallion, I think. A black stallion.
Oh, nice. Mine is a red squirrel.
Nice.
It was a chow dog 2 days ago, and then I was like, I want to redo this entire test because I'm bored. I got a red squirrel. I kept getting dogs, and then I was kind of like, I just don't want a dog. Like, that's, like, so generic.
So how are you enjoying the game so far?
Okay, so I have mixed emotions.
Yes.
So, I was excited I could download it for free. And then I thought, like, oh, okay, that's cool. I thought I'd have to pay for it. And then I was willing to do that.
Yes.
And then after they had it downloaded for free, I was walking around the world, and then it was like, out of energy, want to buy some more rubies? Want to buy this? Want to buy more of that? Oh, you have to, that's another reason I haven't played. I have to exit the game to let the character rest, and then, like, go back.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just kind of like, this is so annoying. Like, and I wrote to them on Facebook. I was like, can I just You guys make it so people have to pay, like, even if it's 99 cents or like more, like, put it $3, $4, $7, whatever. And I'm pretty sure people would pay to not be interrupted in their gameplay, because that's so annoying.
It is. The thing is that the microtransaction industry is so alive, especially in phone gaming, because so many people do use their phones as a stopgap measure for boredom, and it's so easy to link your card to it that's very easy to just, click the button and be like, okay, more energy, more energy, more energy. Oh, it's only 99 cents. And then, like, before you know it, you've spent, like, $80 on a game. And so I know why they did it. It's a smart business move, because one payment, even if they charged the utmost, like an actual game, like they were like $26.99, it's yours, play all the years, they would not make half as much money as they're making right now from people running out of patience. Because the more you go, the longer intervals they add for you having to do stuff. Like, at first I thought it was just going to be having to wait to recharge. And I was like, I can do that. I'm patient. You won't get me. I have many pay-to-play games. I will just cycle between them and then come back when I have energy in each game. But what started happening was that I would finish an event, and I was like, okay, I'm done. It's time to go, let's say, duel Marula. I'm going to go do this. But then it would be like, oh, in 3 hours, duel Marula, or 55 gems. And I was like, oh, okay. So it's very clear to me that the money-making aspect of it is very front and center in front of the storytelling aspect. It is very clear that rather than have an immersive game that you're interested in playing and coming back to, which I do still think people would pay because they'd be interested in getting, like, the gems for the clothes and, like, extra stuff to make your character look how you want and stuff like that. Like, I do still think people would be into that. But it's quite clear that they want to wring as much money out of you as possible with this game.
Oh, yeah. Another thing is I downloaded and I deleted it because I was worried it would crash my computer. I downloaded BlueStacks, and it's a Android simulator. So I have an iPhone, so obviously I have the phone on that. So what happens is, I have the game on that. So with BlueStacks, I downloaded Hogwarts, and then you have to start all over again. So then I played as a Hufflepuff, and I forgot what I named my character. But it got to the point of the Devil's Snare, and it completely spazzed. It was just, it was like this Satan appeared on my computer. It was just like, all you saw was like Devil's Snare, and then like eyes, and then it like broke apart the image, and I was like, well, that was fun for like an hour until it decided not to work. And then I kept getting like, this game runs on Wi-Fi. Your Wi-Fi has to work. I'm like, it does. Please work on my desktop, because it's so much easier to see the screen as well.
Oh, yeah.
And that's another thing. I want a Harry Potter game that's a lot like Kingdom Hearts. 3D RPG, but you can still fight if you want to without necessarily clicking options. As far as I recall, that's how Kingdom Hearts was. And like, for me, I would love that. I would love to explore, and then even as I watched a video on this by Brian Seeker, I think his name is, and he had suggested, why not have it go into adulthood? Like, you spend your time at Hogwarts, and then you're immersed into the world with the things you've done. Or you could have it like a game that you choose to be an adult or choose to explore Hogwarts. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. And he brought up a good point comparing it to Star Wars. There are so many Star Wars games that are about world building that have nothing to do with the original series.
Yeah.
I want to see that with Potter. I would like to buy a PC game. And for me as an adult, it's really interesting, and I don't know if you realize this as a gamer. I started off on computers, as many kids did. And as an adult, I don't want to buy a whole other system just to play 3 games. I'd rather use it on a PC. So my whole thing is, like, I want these games to be accessible to everyone with any type of system as well.
Like, I have multiple systems, but I think that's partially because of my husband. Like, we prefer different systems. Like, I prefer a PC, and he prefers an actual console. Even I would say a PC is a console, but some people get triggered by that. But
it is a console. It's just a really hard working console. And yeah, I do miss having a PS2. I'm like, where am I gonna put it? Like,
space is real. The only reason we can keep ours is because it doubles as our Netflix device. So it plays our Netflix.
A lot of people I know do that with their devices. They're like, they'll just do everything.
It's the one-stop shop. No, like, I agree with you in that I wish that it had just been an expensively priced open world mega game where I would have paid for it. Like, I've paid more money for stupider things. So, like, I would have paid for full price for this game to just be able to go through and play it. And I think a lot of people would have. But at the same time, I do think a lot of people are pumping their money into it this way because it's very manipulatively designed. Like, the very first time you run out of energy is designed to be the devil's snare. So it's designed to be right in the middle of the action when you're just getting into it and just getting immersed, you're going to run out of energy. And I'm just a little past the point where you duel Marula and everything like that. I kind of have stopped because I'm just losing the immersion, so I'll go back when I remember that I have it on my phone. But it's just because it's so hard to get immersed, because at this point, everything takes so much energy that I can't even get through a class without having to wait for more energy. And then sometimes I'm busy, so I just forget, and then I lose house points. So I'm killing Slytherin.
Aside this whole game and like leave it somewhere. Yeah, no, I that's one of the things I was really into, learning how to fly. I think I dueled Marula. I don't remember. I played Gobstones with Ronan at one point. I know I did that. And then I think it asked, do I want to duel Marula? And I think I said no or something. I don't know. I was so tired by that point I couldn't. Whatever answer would give me better points. And I was also just like so angry at that point. I was like, I'm into the game. I'm enjoying it. Why is this happening? It's interesting because at one point I was like, I'm considering this. I'm considering paying. And then I did one time. I paid 99 cents once. And I was like, why did I do that? I told myself I wasn't going to.
It's the gateway. It's the gateway, the 99 cents. And then you can talk yourself into getting more. I've paid for one game. It wasn't that. It was a game called Homescapes, which is in maybe some ways sadder. For that is just a game where you are helping a butler fix up his parents' house. And they had a sale.
That sounds amazingly awesome. And I love how you openly admit, like, it might be sadder, because...
Well, it's just like, it's very much like along like the Sim-style games that I like to play, where it's like, ooh, what couch should I get him? What couch will match the color scheme of his home? You know?
It sounds like so much fun.
I'm into it, but it's just like, it's not as bad though, because if you're patient, it is beatable. It's just like sometimes you'll get stuck on a level. It's one of those like matching games and stuff, and you'll be there for your whole life. But it is doable. And so it's like, sometimes it's taken me 2 or 3 days to beat a level, I'm not gonna lie, just because the luck hasn't been falling my way, but you can do it, and you can avoid spending money. But I feel like with this Harry Potter game, I feel like especially if it keeps taking more and more stars, I wonder if it'll hit a point where it's just really not feasible. Because sometimes if I'm not fully recharged before I try start an activity, I realize there's no way I can complete it. It's actually just not possible with the rate that the recharge will happen at. I just couldn't do it.
Yeah. And it's... yeah, that's another thing. The energy running out so quickly. That I'm like, this doesn't feel even like enough time to say energy right now. And then I get angry because I'm like, what do they mean by energy? Like, are you that tired? Like, I just got so bad. And I remember, I think one of the reasons I didn't stop playing, but I kind of was like, well, exams and stuff, I'm not going to touch the game. But it's also that feeling of like, slight aggravation as a gamer, getting asked for money every time you are immersed in the world. Like, the one game I've paid for is Sonic, and that was $1.99 on my phone. The Hedgehog, and it felt weird paying $1.99 because I had the Sega Genesis and I had the cartridge.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember how much this was when I was like a kid. It felt really kind of almost happy and sad nostalgia. Oh, it's $1.99 now. Oh. That means probably no one plays it anymore. And, I wonder, yeah, they probably are making more money doing this, but I wonder how that will help them in terms of fandom. I think more and more people might just not want to play.
I don't know. I don't know what the general consensus is about microtransactions. I know within most of the gaming community, it's like not... it's frowned upon. I know some people are kind of like, whatever, you can just don't pay for it. But I don't know what the feeling is with the casual gamer, which is where I actually feel that a lot of these transactions happen. Just people with like addictive personalities who are playing this game for funsies, and then it's like, oh yeah, I want to be the Devil Slayer, 99 cents. Oh yeah, I want to do this, 99 cents. And like, you know, and you just keep going, keep going, keep going. But I don't know. Because the only way that these microtransactions are going to stop, and tons of people say it, but it's true, is if we all just do like a mass revolt and are like, no, we're not playing it. I refuse to play because but that's probably not going to happen.
No one's ever going to do that, especially Potter fans. I feel like we've wanted this so much and we finally got it, and now we're complaining, but not for bad reasons. We have I feel almost like the game feels like a kiddie game. Like, it's like swipe your finger this way.
Oh yeah, the doing it inside the lines. I kind of wish there was more of that. Like, it's not hard. Like, you know, like it's not challenging me in any way. But at least it feels like I'm doing something. Because the rest of the time, it's just like all those energy eating transactions that are just like gaze, 2 energy, wonder, 5 energy, and I'm like, well, at least if I'm pretending to stir a pot or do a spell, like, I feel kind of like I'm doing something wizarding-y, less like, you know, like, oh, help me look through these shelves, Carmen, 2 energy, you know?
I hate those. It's weird. It's like, press this person, wonder, listen. And I'm like, but why? Why am I doing them? Give me something to do.
And that's the thing, you don't have a choice not to sometimes. It's like, can I just not? Like, can I just wait and, like, listen to the lecture like a normal... No, you have to stare intently at this person across the thing.
How do you feel about the graphics?
I don't mind it. I mean, like, they're not... yeah, they're not brilliant. But they're not horrible either. They're about what I would expect for a phone game. I feel like a lot of the issue is that I think a lot of fans were hoping for more and that there would just be more love put into it. And I think that there is a bit of a disconnect between understanding how much of a money-making device Harry Potter has become. And whenever something becomes a money-making device, you are going to see some churned out stuff. Like, even, and especially in gaming in general, there is a bit of a penchant right now to rush things out before they are fully finalized. It happens with a lot of games, and you'll see it, and they'll have to patch it. Like, that's just the norm now. You know, it's like, oh yeah, we patched it. Like, it's fine. Like, oh, was this, like, wrong when it was released? Don't worry, we'll patch it. And it's like, you know, I would really love if it just came out fine, and you didn't have to patch it. That would be nice.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I'm not gonna lie, I'd buy a whole other gaming console to play a Harry Potter immersed game if that happened. Like, I would save money to do that. Yeah, I kind of felt like the graphics I feel like they're gearing it towards kids.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that makes sense, because my Potter generation are people that are our age now, when the first book came out. So for me, this idea of gearing it towards kids doesn't work, because we're adults playing a game. I feel like a lot of the stuff I feel like is...
I don't know. I feel like we're no longer the target, to be honest. I had 2 Harry Potter experiences, actually, before we had this column that I had to tell you about. So, one was I was in a bookstore getting some fandom, like, fiction books, and there were people beside me, and they started complaining, and they were, like, teens, and they were, because I was in the young adult section, and they were like, I can't believe that Harry Potter is in children's 9 to 10. That's atrocious. Harry Potter is timeless. And I had a good laugh as like a 28-year-old beside them who was like, yes, Harry Potter is timeless. You go, you teens. But then when I took my daughter to the park today, actually, there were a bunch of kids, and they were about 8, all playing together. And one of them grabbed a stick and pointed at the other and was like, "You're a wizard, Harry." And I was like, oh. And it was really neat to see that it's still a thing. And I was like, oh, so like there are tons of kids who were like getting into it and who were into it. That's really cool. And I was like, you know what? Maybe that's who this is for. You know, it's just kind of like maybe it's for this younger, burgeoning generation and not necessarily for the older ones. I feel like in general a lot of times our age group is in this awkward position of like people try to pander but they don't. Like it's this really weird kind of nether like weird region.
Weird because Star Wars has been given the timeless caption, right? Mm-hmm. Like we consistently have Star Wars games that are for every age. And I feel like Potter hasn't reached the timeless caption.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, it's being geared towards these kids. And those stories are amazing. I saw a mother and daughter, and she was holding the Order of the Phoenix in her hand. And I was like, oh my God. I was so excited. And just hearing kids talk about Potter makes me excited.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, I'll answer all your questions. And they're like, you've read Harry Potter? And it's like, yeah. And then I feel old. But, because then I'm like, ask me anything. Or when a kid doesn't like Potter, I get kind of sad. I'm like...
Well, it's like, but what I do feel that means is that they're missing an opportunity. And I feel like they miss this a lot with our generation, where I feel like, I'm not saying we haven't grown up, but we are more willing to engage in what would have been previously considered childish activities or frivolous purchases than I'd say the generation before us would have been. And so I'm like, we're here. We will spend money on your stuff. You just need to give it to
Please spend it to my age group of a Potter game.
Yeah, it's like, shut up and take my money. But
exactly. I will buy a new whole console, please. Like... Oh my God.
I think there could be a really cool, compelling Potter game made for adults, and I think that would be really neat if they did. But again, kids are more likely to make microtransactions.
Kids being 18-year-olds with credit cards, yes.
No, kids being kids who attach their parents' credit cards or are using a system where their parents' credit cards are linked. That was a big problem. There was actually a huge bunch of backlash back in the day where, like, sometimes, because you can set up your phone, right, so that it just has the card linked, like, just to the account in general, and maybe your kid's on, like, a family account, and so there was a big problem where kids were making purchases and not really realizing what they were doing. They were just like, oh yeah, like, 99 cents, 99 cents, 99 cents, the next thing you know, your bill's like $200, and you're like, what the hell happened? There were people calling companies for refunds, being like, okay, I didn't spend this money, so it was, like, a big thing for a while.
Wow, that blows my mind.
That's the thing, that's why I'm like, these purchases are... It's manipulative. And, I mean, I feel like in some level of society, we just kind of normalize the idea, like, oh, yeah, they're always trying to rip us off and everything. I'm like, okay, but there are certain people who are way more vulnerable to that than other people. And I don't know if it's cool to market your entire game strategy off of trying to manipulate those people, which is very much what I feel that this is trying to do because of the design. Because, like I said, other games have microtransactions, but sometimes they're a mere irritation. Like, they would make the game easier and faster, but you can still achieve without it. With this, you have to wait hours to do certain things. Like, it's madness, you know?
It's crazy. Like, I put the game down. I stayed up the first night and played it all night, and then I put the game down. And it's interesting because Potter, for me, can be always a door opener.
Mm-hmm.
And so I put the game down, and I was kind of like, man, I have to wait a few hours for it to recharge.
Yeah.
And everything. And it was it was upsetting in a sense, you know? And it's interesting to me how how fandom in general is a gateway. Like, I was talking to a guy yesterday, and he's a Trekkie fan, and I was like telling him Star Wars and Potter. He's like, well, I'm into Trek, but I guess I can learn more about Potter. I was like, oh, that's cute. That's cute.
I like the I guess. I mean, like, I'll deign to.
And then I was like, did you read the books? No. Did you watch the movies? Yes. And I was like, yeah.
You're kind of there.
Like, and for me, then he asked, like, are there any games? He's like, there's Star Wars games. Are there games for Potter? And, then he asked, did I play the new game? And it was so interesting to discuss that with him because I was like, it's okay. And I felt really sad as a fan to be like, it's okay. It hasn't lived up to the hype that it was advertised to.
Yeah. No, definitely. Like, I don't know if it ever would have, but I think it could be better than it is. Definitely. Like, for sure. And maybe they'll patch it and add more to it and stuff like that, but I guess I've been comparing it in my head to Pokemon Go, when Pokemon Go launched, because Pokemon Go launched with that huge furor, and there was everybody was playing it. And I remember I was part of those night raids of people going out at night to, like, certain areas and catching Pokemon and everything like that, and I'm like, you know what?
I was part of that too.
Yeah.
But it was weird. I went with my friends, but I hadn't logged on to the game yet, so I logged on like a week later, but it drove me a little nuts because my friends, we went around the Museum of Natural History and then we went to the park and then we lost everyone. It was just, it was all because of a Snorlax that they went to go find. And I was somewhere abandoned on a bridge, like not knowing which way they went. With like a couple other friends who were like, it was interesting because once we looked away from our phones from doing the Pokemon Go, everyone was like, man, this kind of silly. Like, we're just running around for fake monsters.
You know, it's funny because I was going to say I actually liked it better. Because I liked it more than this game because it felt immersive. Like, that game had a lot of problems in that, you know, you caught the same Pokemon all the time. You couldn't really battle anybody. I mean, you could battle gyms, sort of, but you couldn't really battle other people. So it wasn't really like being a Pokemon trainer. But it's like you could play the game. You didn't have to pay money if you didn't want to, like, depending on where you were. Like, you could find Pokestops and other stuff to, like, refill your items and that kind of stuff. So you could just play. And you felt like you were catching Pokemon, and you can do it whenever you wanted. You can still do it whenever you want, even though much fewer people do. But if I want to, I can open my app, go outside, catch some Pokemon, and go look for them, and I will feel like I am Poke hunting. But for this Hogwarts game, I can't feel like I'm a Hogwarts student because of all this waiting.
Honestly, yeah, that's kind of when the game first came out, I thought it was going to be like Harry Potter Go. I thought you could go around, and I thought finally something for my Potter-loving generation that can walk around and do spells and find Horcruxes. I was excited. And then it turned out to be a completely other game, and I was like, oh, so it's not Potter Go.
Yeah.
It's not going to be like that Pokemon Go was. And yeah, I kept catching the same Pokemon, and I started naming my Pokemon terrible things like rat ass. And like naming them awful things because I was so annoyed with how many rat attacks I kept getting. So I just started naming them awful things like Boil Butt. It does look like he's been in a garbage can. But for me, I understand what you're saying about the immersion of the game because Pokemon Go, there was something nice about people coming together. And like it was very interesting to see at the museum because I had a friend turn to like random sort of stranger and was like, red team, blue team, what are you on? And they're like, blue team. Yeah, Mystic. And it was just this weird camaraderie among New Yorkers just running around. And I'm pretty sure that's the same with Canada.
Yeah, no, it was cool. Like, you'd see people, and they'd be running, you'd be like, there's a Snorlax over there, or like, this is over there, or like, we're all heading towards this, or like, there's Vulpix over there. And like, parents brought their kids out. That was adorable. Like, I live really near to this big mega mall. And so it was a huge spot for all kinds of spawning and stuff. And like parents drove their kids out so that they could come like later and catch the night Pokemon and like all of that stuff. It was such a huge thing. It was so cute.
Yeah, it was a big thing. My friend came to stay at my house and then I made dinner and she's like, there's a Snorlax outside your house. And I'm like, but I made dinner. And she's like, we have to catch it. I was like, are you kidding me? And she's like, no. She's like, you wouldn't understand. I'm like, I play Pokemon. Don't tell me I don't understand. But food is more important than the Snorlax.
Now, I remember my husband, we saw a lure. And we were like, somebody set up a lure. Like, we've got to go.
To the Pokemobile. Like, that's what it's like. But I wanted Potter to be that. Because, yeah, there is that immersion. Like, especially around, like, museums and stuff. Like, it's be amazing to catch Horcruxes around the Museum of History, and especially the Met, I think, or the New York Historical Society Museum. One of them has a Potter exhibit now, the history of magic or something. And I was like, that would be amazing to have the Potter game have a bunch of Horcruxes around there.
That would be so cool.
Oh my god, that would be amazing. And we got the Hogwarts Mystery, and I was kind of, like, upset. You know, I was happy and upset at the same time. I had very conflicting emotions. As a fan, I was like, Potter. And as a person, I was kind of like, but why is it another mystery?
I was okay with it being like that, but again, like, if it had just been something I could have played, then I would have been like, okay, you know, it was almost like a throwback from when I used to play the older games, like playing Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets on PC back in the day.
Have you ever watched people replay those now?
I have, yes.
They're great. I love people's reactions where they're like, what the hell happened to your face? They'll just go around.
It makes me laugh because I remember playing it as a kid and thinking how good it looked. So it's always really funny to me. I'm like, I remember when this looked good.
It's so weird. And then someone was comparing the games where he said, Lego Universe is the closest thing to a game immersion of Potter that we have. I've never played the Potter Legos. I thought you were going to pull it out and be like, I have it. But instead you drank your water. I was like, oh, okay. Have you played Legos, Potter?
No, I haven't. I've only recently gotten back into gaming. Like, I have a bunch of Otome games that I got for myself, mostly free games and games that were on sale. So now I'm like, I can game once more. The gaming returns.
Yeah, I feel like as an adult, I've discovered that I'm very partial to the games I want to play.
Mm-hmm.
So now I'm like, Star Wars, of course, but then it's Potter. And then I'm like, I kind of want to get back into Tomb Raider. But like the first one, like the one where it was all box-like and you explored a cave.
I found that to enjoy gaming culture, I had to disassociate myself from the more serious aspects of it. With gaming, like, every fandom has a hierarchy, so I'm not going to pretend that gaming is any different. But, like, as a gamer who's very mediocre, especially on consoles, like, I can't. Like, I'm never going to be as good as certain people and, like, all of that stuff. And so I just don't want to deal with it. And, like, some of the games I like are kind of lower on the spectrum of, like, what good games are. And so I'm just kind of, like, the only way I can enjoy it is just to do my own thing. I'm like, I like games that other people think are lame, and I don't care.
Well, I mean, I had someone in my life who I don't have anymore who was very critical of the fact that as a gamer, I would call myself a gamer, and he was like, but you don't play games. And I'm like, I used to, and I was never into the popular games that are out now either.
Yeah.
I was never into Call of Duty. I was, back in the day, it was like Duke Nukem and Tomb Raider, and Doom, and there was this weird game I played which was not popular at all called Fairy Godmother.
Okay.
Fairy Godmom, and it's a weird maze, and like the Godmom fairy thing would die if you didn't figure out the maze. It's a very morbid game, but it was really a lot of fun doing the puzzles. And then there was this other game my cousin had. It was a black screen with green like shapes, and they would move, but it wasn't Snake or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's very primitive back then, gaming, but like, I remember that. And I always liked games that weren't that popular. It's interesting you say that you feel like a mediocre gamer.
Well, I am. Like, I don't, like, it's just, no, I mean, like, technically. Like, just on, like, a technical level. I get too immersed sometimes in things, like, especially shooters. Like, I get really, like, it's like I'm there. I'm really stressed out about it. And so, like, I use all my bullets. I forget to reload. It's just a mess. Yeah, I just charge into it. I hide behind the thing forever. So, like, for me, I've always liked... There are some games I've always, like, I like that are more mainstream. Like, I like Rayman 2, The Great Escape. There are certain action games I really like. Like, I really like Mass Effect. I like Dragon's Age. Like, I like those games a lot, and I play them. But I've always been more partial to games that would be considered girly. Like, I love The Sims. I don't care. The Sims is my favorite game of all time. I love all of them. I have every single Sims game ever made. And I love Otome games. I like visual novels and choose-your-own-adventure style stories and stuff like that. And sometimes, like, I get flack for it from, like, you get flack for, like, for not... It's like you get flack from both sides. You get flack from, like, certain female gamers for, like, misrepresenting, like, female gamers, and then you get flack from, like, male gamers for, like, you don't like real games. It's just like, you know what, I just like what I like, and I'm at a point now where I'm like, I don't care. I'm just gonna play what I want to play, and I don't care what you think.
Yeah, like, for me, a lot of people I know have Xboxes, and for me, it's like, I find the controller very bulky and difficult to use, and I had someone be like, why do you want a PS2? I'm like, because that's what I grew up with after having a Sega and a computer, and it's just slimmer and easier, and they're like, okay. And it was almost like done in like, you're not a real gamer, or like, you don't know what you're talking about, because Xbox is good.
Yeah.
And I think Xbox is a really good system. It's just not something I prefer.
No, it's like the PlayStation 4 is a wonderful system, and like I like it and appreciate it, but I am not very good with the controller. I'm not very good with any controllers. I never had consoles growing up. I always had a PC. Just always. Like my parents couldn't afford anything extra, so I had a PC, I had a Game Boy. Like those were my two things, and that's what I played. And so I didn't really have an experience coming to that controller until much later, and I always find it very awkward, especially when things are happening very rapid fire. Like I'm always like, what's L2, what's L1? Like I don't remember. So like I just feel like technically I'm just bad. And so I'm just like, so there are certain games that I can play on the thing, but I'm always that person who sometimes, depending on the game, like if it's really hard, I will set it to an easier level. Like I don't care. Like I want to be able to play the game, you know. And like some people get really like, oh, you didn't play it on the hardest setting. I'm like, look, I wanted to see where the story was going, what was going to happen, and for me, a game isn't fun if I know I can't complete it. And that's part of why I watch gameplay. Like I watch gameplay of games that I know I will never play, not because they're bad games, but just because like they're not something I would be able to get through. I don't have the time, like, you know, like, but I enjoy seeing them and I want to see how they turn out.
No, it's the same thing with, like, it's interesting you say with the whole controller thing, because back in my day, we're not that far apart, I'm only 31, but still, I remember, like, we didn't have we had L1 and L2, but it wasn't used as much. It was just mainly, like, the pad, up, down, like. And then now I'm given a controller, and they're like, you gotta turn with this joystick, and that joystick, and this one moves your head, and this one moves your legs, and this one... I'm like, why can't it just be one joystick that moves me? Why do I have to use two of these to do
more immersive? Well, my thing is that I'm like, I know I could do it. Like, it's not like it would be impossible to learn. But the time. I don't have the luxury of the time it would take to learn it anymore. Like, time is a precious resource. Like, my husband and I were talking the other day, and we were like, you know, we didn't realize what how lucky we were to be able to have time when we were younger to do things like read or just, you know, play a game to completion. It's like you don't think about it. But now it's like I don't have time. So it's like if I'm going to select a game, obviously I'm going to select something that A, I like, and B, is going to be comfortable for me to play, rather than pick something that's going to be really hard and stress me out when I already don't have time. So
exactly. And I think that's one of the issues with this Hogwarts Mystery Game.
Mm-hmm.
We love it, but it's also like, I don't have the time to wait here for my energy to restock.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to do something else. It is really weird, by the way, getting on the phone and, like, manipulating it that way. It is bizarre feeling. Like, it's just, I feel like not a gamer at all when I've died again. Like, I still can't figure out, like, but with Hogwarts, it's just so annoying with those things. And I feel like, for me, I would like to see a lot more options with the game. Like, I got kind of annoyed when you meet Ronan in the beginning, and she's all like, do you want me to get a scarf? And I'm like, okay, get a scarf. I guess it has nothing to do with my character.
I wish at least that would have had an impact, like, on anything. I think it was just there to show, like, your decisions matter. Now she has a scarf.
Your choices help people in this game.
I also feel that the choices are really easy to match. Like when you're trying to decide like which conversation pattern will make you better friends, and like how are you going to make him feel better. I'm like, it's really obvious. Like, unless like there are some reasons why it wouldn't be obvious, but for most people, it's based on the way they present the characters. It's quite clear what answer you're supposed to pick. So
right. The only time, and this could have been like because it was 3 in the morning I was playing, but when I was playing Gobstones with Ronan, I didn't realize I'm supposed to distract her. I thought I had gotten so used to being like the nice answers, and then it was, you're losing, and I'm like, what? I'm supposed to distract her and be mean? Okay. But that was like after a few minutes of like, I'm so confused. I'm picking all the friend answers to get
She's really easily distracted, which was funny. Like, so the library. Oh no, I can't play Gobstones anymore.
How do you find her character? I found out because I was watching a commentary earlier today about it, and the guy talked about Ronan, and he showed his character is a male, so then Ronan is a male.
Really?
And I was like, oh, interesting. So depending on your character, whether it's male or female, they make her match you in gender. And I was like, that's interesting. think that makes sense, though, since she's supposed to be the best friend.
Like, I don't know, like, she's okay. I haven't really...
I feel like it's a college buddy. I don't know. She sits in back of class.
Like, I always bring her, but that's because of my, like, I don't think it's smart to go on adventures by yourself. Like, she's fine. I get what they're going for. Like, the whole, like, oh, we're both new to the school, and we're both kind of outsiders. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. But my thing is that it's probably because I don't feel immersed in the world in general. I feel like if I felt more immersed, I'd probably be more into her as a character, because she is pretty cool, and, like, she's got her own personality and stuff going on, which I appreciate. But I'm just, like... That's kind of how I feel about everything.
I'm kind of like, I feel weird about her, and she's always like, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, I don't know, Ronan. I don't know. Just hang out. I don't know.
I'm like, Rowan, this isn't a visual novel. You can do what you want. I don't have to tell you what to do.
You make your own choices, Ronan.
I don't make your choices, Rowan. It's like, but the thing is, I know I'm not connected because I don't feel bad about choosing any of the be mean to her. Like, like, do you want to test Rictum Semper on me? I'm like, yeah, sure. Like, yeah, I'll test it. I need to know if it works. I haven't
started to do that yet. What happened?
Like, so you learn the tickling spell, right? And then you want to use it for the duel. And he's like, oh, well, you should maybe test it on me to make sure you learned it correctly. And you have the option to be like, no, or like, yeah, or like, one of those like neutral, like maybe we'll test it on something else. But I was like, yeah, I'll test it on a person. Like, how am I supposed to know? Slytherin?
Wow. I mean, tickling is better than septum.
Well, it's not that kind of duel. That'd be intense.
How do you feel about Marla?
I'm curious as to how different it would have played out if I'd been nice. Like, because I was mean from the start. I was like, you're mean, I'm mean, let's do this. But there were options to diffuse the situation that I have never chosen. So I'm like, You
just want to be a bully because you're so nice in real life. You're like, this is my alter ego.
No, I'm just like, she's so mean that, like, for me, I'm like, this interaction, like, this person comes at you like this, like, there's no way you'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like, no. So I was just like, I wonder if that changes the outcome a lot, or if it's one of those games that's just kind of on a fixed path, and no matter what you do, you have to duel her, and you have to go through the arc of her as the enemy, or if you are going to have that redemption, and if so, I don't feel that I will ever accept that narratively, but that's just me.
So I picked the nice option because I just want points. And there's no, like, she still wants to duel you, she still tries to
So it makes no difference? Only you saved 20 points?
Yeah, pretty much.
I lost 20 house points.
It's ridiculous. There's, like, and Snape is still obviously just as mean.
That's too bad.
I liked that because, people are like, Slytherins got special treatment by Snape. I'm like, no.
He hates everyone. He hates his life. So.
He hates his life. He writes a sad diary.
He does. That's what he's working on in the class. Dear diary, teaching another awful class of children today. Actually, speaking of it being a gateway to fandom and stuff, when I stopped playing, though, I really got into fan fiction again, which is also partially probably because I'm working on Grindelwald, so I went back and revisited some of, like, the pairings or just tropes that I'm interested in. I found one of my favorite Snupin Fics from back in the day, which is one where it takes place after or during the Chamber of Secrets. I think it's after, though, like years later. And Snape confiscates Creevy's camera, and he starts using it to take still photography pictures. And he finds that he's super into it because they're so different from wizarding pictures, and he finds that they're more true because they capture people in a moment. And they show, like, their true selves frozen in time versus the wizarding pictures where they're, like, always miming and moving and how they appear in public. So he starts, like, kind of going around and taking pictures of people, trying to, like, catch them as they actually are. And through the process, he starts taking some pictures of Lupin, of course, and like discovers like, you know, his feelings for Lupin and stuff like that. And I'm like, I love this story so much. I just love the idea of photographer Snape.
Now I'm just not going to get that image out of my head if he's in school with a Muggle device.
Yeah, like, and he gets obsessed. He like orders all these Muggle books, and they come by Owl, and everybody's like, Snape's getting packages. Why is Snape getting packages for? And like, kind of like, I like those kind of fics. Like, I love the idea of like the wizards being interested in like the Muggle world and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like the way Mr. Weasley was interested is like a way a kid is fascinated by stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that dynamic.
No, like there were some really compelling Snupin fics back in the day. Like I get why people dismiss it as a pairing out of hand, but it had its moments. Like there were some people, because I think in part because you had to work harder, because you had so much more to overcome with their history. I found that some people really, really tried hard to make some really interesting.
I feel like with Dramani fics, like good Dramani.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and just his Draco-ness.
That's another thing. Like my character in Hufflepuff, I wanted to make her a Malfoy, or like one of the Black Sisters, or great aunt of like Andromeda, and none of that. It didn't even allow me to use that last name. I was like, damn it! I just want to make it like connected.
Yeah, and I mean, they're connecting it, so it's like, why can't you? I mean, they already are trying to be like, oh, it's this many years before, like, the boy who lived and, like, all of that stuff. And I'm like, well, you started it, game.
Yeah. Not only that, okay, so this really irked me. So in the beginning of the intro of the game,
mm-hmm.
Dumbledore gives that speech.
Yeah.
It's like, the boy, Harry Potter, is safe and, like, won't come to Hogwarts for another whatever years. And I'm like, why are you announcing that? Why is that a thing? Why are you telling people? I don't understand.
I know, especially if you go by the logic that the books present, that there are some people who have always been loyal to Voldemort this entire time and would be looking to try and destroy any potential threat to him or anything. You know, it's like, no, let me just announce that the child is safe.
And first of all, it could have been Neville.
It could have been Neville. It could have been Neville. I wish it was Neville.
Imagine how many people would be upset. But I would think that would have been an interesting twist, it being Neville.
I would love it, and it would have made you question so many things. You know, all of this energy and stuff poured into Harry, his forced, terrible life, all of this stuff that happened to him. And then it was Neville, who was there living, in some ways, an equally terrible life, with no one doing anything, with his poor, insane, tortured parents, and all of the awful stuff that he had to go through. And it's just like, oh yeah, whatever, Neville. Okay, this is a bit off topic, but like, I've been doing, like I keep saying, I've been doing a lot of Grindelwald research, and in the midst of it, Rowling, whose name I finally learned how to pronounce the proper way, even though every instinct in my heart wants to say Rowling. But, Rowling. It is. I knew it was Rowling.
I'm devastated. My whole life I thought it was Rowling.
I used to work with some British people, so I knew it was Rowling, but she even says in an interview, just something about North Americans, we have a hard time doing that. We all say Rowling over here. She said she just stopped correcting us because we can't, like, for some reason we see it and we just say Rowling, but it's actually Rowling. So I'm like, Rowling. So the entire video I was like, Rowling, like the Rolling Stones, Rowling. But she did her yearly thing where she announces an apology for the death of a character she killed, and this year it was Dobby, and I'm just like, I don't like the yearly apology. It just seems very disingenuous to me. Maybe I'm just salty. I don't know.
I'm just angry that she considers Cursed Child canon. Because so I was in Times Square.
Yeah.
And they set up the Harry Potter Cursed Child Theater.
Okay.
So I took a picture and I posted it on Facebook. I'm like, it's not canon, but I'll take anything Potter. And a family friend of mine was like, it is canon. And he sent me her quote. And I'm like, she's undoing her writing. At the end of the Phoenix, they destroyed all the time turners. Okay, so she's undoing it, and I don't know what. And I was really upset. But I will take anything Potter.
It's interesting, because that was one of the things I was examining throughout this, and also Wolfstar. And I was just like, she has this thing where she just continually responds to all fan questions, and she always had, but what's happened is that the world has shifted around her, and so now instead of answering these questions in like controlled settings at Carnegie Hall and in interviews and newspapers and stuff, a lot of it's also happening online and in social media. And I wonder if she just has a hard time keeping track, or if she just is one of those people who just wants to answer all questions, or if she's pandering. I don't even know at this point, or if she's hit that point with how her fans are and that disconnect that she's had with some of them that she just doesn't care anymore. Like, I don't even know.
I had like a morbid thought. I don't know if you know the author Gabriel Marquez.
Yes.
He ended up having amnesia towards his death. Yes. Not amnesia.
Dementia, yeah.
Dementia. And I was like, what if that's happening to J.K. Rowling, and that's maybe why she's like answering this? What if she's just forgetting? And I'm like, no, I can't go down that route and think that. But I thought that, I was like, what if she has early onset Alzheimer's, and that's why she can't remember what she's writing? And I wondered that, and I was like, that's horrible. That makes me sad. I hope it's just her being stupid over that.
I'm actually a bit more cynical. It made me wonder if all of the stuff on the Pottermore site and stuff she actually came up with herself. Like, because
went there.
I'm like, you know, like I know she didn't write The Cursed Child and everything, and I'm like, but how attached is she to her own canon? Maybe she's not that attached to it. I mean, certain things occurring with the Grindeldor stuff make it seem like maybe she's not either that attached to her canon, or she doesn't understand why her fans are so attached to it. Because there seems to be a clear disconnect there between how she handles when her fans get upset versus how she handles when they accept a new part of her canon. Like, she's very much a creator who likes to control her own universe. Only she's like the opposite of Anne Rice. Like, when you have an Anne Rice who's like, you can't add anything or I will hurt you and I will sue you. And then you have J.K. Rowling on the other side, who's like, I will accept the things and pick and choose what I want, and then give them back to you how I want them to be. And so it's interesting. It's very interesting, especially in this day when so many people feel that the author is dead. So what she feels doesn't matter. But I don't agree with that personally, but I know a lot of people feel that way.
I have so much to say about that. So, like, for me, it's interesting because, like you said, she answers her fans.
Yeah.
I've written to her on Twitter being like, thank you for writing to me when I was 13. I wrote a letter when I was 13. Her people, maybe not her, responded. But I'd asked all the questions about, like, if Draco's really bad, will we become friends with him, right? And I thanked her for that. And on my graduation day, I was like, mischief managed, thank you, J.K. Rowling, you know. And she didn't, people responded and said she liked it, but it wasn't like her.
Yeah.
And I find it interesting, her response to the fans that really, like, are like, hey, thanks. And then the fans that are like, I have all these ridiculous questions. Can you answer them? And some of them are like, they're about the world, but a lot of it I feel like is, she'll give information we don't want. Like the whole, I don't know if you know about the toilet debacle.
Yes. The world needed to know.
When I read that, I was like, you serious? That's real? Like, why J.K. Rowling?
Part of me wonders if she's just having fun. Like, I brought this up in the video where it's like, I wonder if she was at points engaging in fandom the way that a fan would. You know, just like, oh yeah, like, I want to dive into these, like, weird, kooky aspects of my own canon and stuff like that. But not fully maybe appreciating that when you're the creator and you do that, it's different. It's very different when you do that as a creator versus doing that as a fan. Because as soon as you start doing it as a creator, what you say has weight. And suddenly, things are canon, you know? Or things are now, you know, they're just there and they exist now. And that's a thing. It was just like, I don't know. I had this... First, I don't really love when authors add a lot of stuff in post, and it's not really supported by the text, just me personally. Like,
how did you feel, for example, this is what I wanted to ask.
Yeah.
It's about the post stuff that you mentioned, it just triggered in my brain. The whole her denying Ron and Hermione, like, that romance should have never happened.
I don't feel that at this point, like, she can control the post-canon script like that. Like, I really don't. I'm like, look, what you wrote is what you wrote, and the ways that it is taken and can be taken are the ways that it can be taken and are taken. But the thing is, with how she presents it, is it's like, oh, I decided, like, somewhere along the line that this wouldn't work. And so that's just the way it is. It's the same thing with when the Grindelwald stuff was happening. And she was like, oh, actually, it was a one-sided romance, and Grindelwald was just using him, and it was completely unreciprocated on Grindelwald's side. And fans were like, well, I don't care. Ship it is ship, 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 ship. And so it's just like, I feel that... Why? To me, that speaks to an excessive need to control. I feel like she's gonna block me anyway if she sees Grindelwald. But I'm just like, I feel like...
Don't say that. Don't wish that upon yourself.
Like, she's blocking people willy-nilly right now. So it's...
Really?
Oh, she's been on a mute and block spree for a while. Like, she'll block people at the drop of a hat. She's really block happy.
So someone who was a Slytherin, I was YouTubing, like, I don't know, I think J.K. Rowling responses and stuff. And this girl was like, I'm a Slytherin, and J.K. Rowling wrote about Draco Malfoy's birthday and how she's not invited, which was very bizarre. And she was like, and then she's like, I responded with, at least you know your place. I'm like, well, that was a little rude. She had every right to talk to you. That was a little rude. But two, that is just weird that J.K. Rowling was like, I'm not invited to Draco Malfoy's birthday. And I'm like, you realize you sound crazy, right? Like,
I've seen some of the stuff that people get blocked for, and it's ridiculous. Like, some of the stuff, you're like, yeah, that's a block, or that's a mute, or like, that kind of thing. But other stuff, you'll see it, and maybe if you were in a bad mood, but you're reading it, and you're like, that's not really... Also, just blocking your fans, never really a great look. It's not a good look. It's just, it's a bad look. And it's just... It's hard. It's hard to be a creator, and it's hard to be a creator when you've been one who's been as open as she has, because then people expect to constantly be replied to and stuff like that. But she will block people who have, like, opposing opinions to her and stuff like that. So
like, it bothers me that J.K. Rowling, even though I'm a Gryffindor,
mm-hmm.
and I'm a horned serpent in Overmorning, but I do feel like her whole, like, Slytherin bias thing, or Draco, and I feel like that somewhat plays into the gameplay, like,
oh yeah,
Slytherins are bad, or the idea that it's really kind of obnoxious. And I understand authors have a connection to the world they created. Look at George R.R. Martin with Game of Thrones. I mean, he talked to him about it not being real, and it's like he has like a freaking kitchen. But he's like, no, it's real. And you're like, all right, yeah, okay. Like, and it's the same thing with, Tolkien's dead. But, like, if he was alive, he'd probably be like, my world is real.
But Tolkien was always very much, even when he spoke about his world, he was very into the idea of people adding to it. Like, he was very down for the idea of people adding to it, because in a sense, that's what he had done when he created it. So, like, he was very down for that concept of, like, yes, bring me your ideas and stuff. And I like that Rowling is like that. I like that she engages with fandom. I do enjoy that, and I think it's great when creators do engage with fandom. I think the issue arises in the I'm engaging but I control this interaction tone that, like, occurs a lot. Like, Draco is bad, Gilderoy Lockhart is bad, and he was based off of somebody who I didn't like, and that's why I wrote those horrible things that happened to him. Ron and Hermione wouldn't work because, like, I wrote them this way and I realized that they wouldn't pan out. Yeah, Harry and Hermione maybe should have happened. Like, all of these, additional things, and you're just like, the thing is, if you're going to say those things, and you're going to stand by them and own it, like, okay, you do you. Everybody has the right to do whatever they want with their world and stuff, and it's yours. But don't be surprised when fans get upset, because they own it too. The
world is no longer yours.
Exclusively. It's not exclusively yours anymore.
Like, I would love to pick her brain. I have so many questions, but I know logically, and this is what scares me a little bit. there are the fans like you and me who are aware of, like, this is an imaginary world. We love it. We immerse ourselves in it, but we're able to take ourselves out. I get worried when people are, like, overly into it. I don't know how to explain it, like, where they don't know reality from.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. It's like sometimes there's that awkward blurring that happens with fandom. I was experiencing it a lot during the actually the Infinity War red carpet, where like people would come up and then the interviewers would ask them questions as if they were the character. The worst was for Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa. He would come up and already, you know, he always looks like he doesn't want to be there, bless him. And so
I saw your post. He's like, he always looks like that. And I'm like, you're right. I sent you that gift of his face, just stone face.
But they pulled him up and they're like, so, like, Chad, where is Wakanda? And I was like, you know, he doesn't actually live, you know, like, it's not a place. It's just his face.
What did he say? Was he like, it's good?
Yeah, and then Sebastian Stan was another one they did that with. They're like, so how's your relationship with Tony? And it was just like, and he actually paused and he was like, you mean like Robert or like the character?
I think people forget people play characters, and so like I follow Tom Felton, played Malfoy on Instagram, and so many people when they see pictures of him and Matthew Lewis, who played Neville,
yeah,
or with Harry, or even one recently with Emma, him and Matthew hanging out, they were like, "Oh, Dramani for life." I'm like, you guys know that they're just hanging out, that they're people, that they're not their characters, and that worries me. Where they're like, I loved you as Dramani. And I feel almost in a way like the actors, they love the fact that they got their start with Harry Potter, and God bless them for never bashing it. But I was watching Tom Felton do his Patronus.
Yeah.
He was completely dressed up in a different, I don't know if he was in costume. That was just his outfit for the day. Looked like Indiana Jones. And he was like, I'm going to do my Patronus now. It's Tom Felton. And I was like, man, he's done. And then they did it with Rupert Grint. Emma didn't go.
Yeah.
But Lana Lynch, who played Luna, and Matthew Lewis. And Matthew Lewis was like, okay, cool. And then Rupert Grint was like, I got into Hufflepuff. And they were like, are you upset? He's like, no, it's great. But I thought that was so interesting that here are the characters who played these characters. Here are the actors who played these characters. And even to them, like, Hufflepuff seemed so bad.
Well, it's like, I almost wonder, like, because, like, you know, like, you and I make videos, and, like, that's nothing like what it was for Rowling to make Harry Potter. But, you know, like, sometimes when you do something, you're done with it, you need a break. And you're like, okay, I made that, and I'm happy with it, and it's out there now, and now I'm going to move on to the next thing. And I feel like she's perpetually trapped and not being able to do that. Like, she will have to answer questions about Harry Potter forever. And, like, I don't know if she loves or hates that. It's really hard for me to gauge. Like,
probably a double-edged sword, right? Like, here's the thing that got you famous. Like, I always was like, don't ever knock the thing that got you famous.
Yeah, of course.
As long as it's not, like, terrible. But, you know, at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. Like, if, like, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and I feel like Tom Felton got the short end of the stick when it comes to, like, acting. He's finally going to be an Othello.
And he was in The Flash. That was pretty cool.
And he was in The Flash, and I didn't know that until recently. I was like, I kind of want to start watching The Flash just because of that. And I saw this clip where they're like, look at this genius here, and I clicked. And it was him talking about his life in England, part of a rich family, and that's why he came to work where The Flash works. And someone, see, he's secretly Draco. I'm like, oh my god, that's not what that is.
I think it's hard, and it's hard especially when you're attached to something iconic. Like, I remember the response, remember when Rowling wrote The Casual Vacancy? Not that The Casual Vacancy is great, like, it has its own issues, but, I mean, I felt bad that people were just, like, bashing her for writing something even in a different genre. Even before they read it, they were just like, this isn't a fantasy book. She should write more Potter. She should write more in the Potterverse. There should be more Potter. And I was just like, and I can't imagine. Just because I think that she manages, for the most part, her own Twitter. So I'm just like, I can't even imagine. Just the constant, like, barrage of both excessive praise and just people tripping out over everything. And the fact that it's still constant because new people are discovering it every day. It's not like it's trickling to a halt. And also you have the new movies coming out and these new games and even things that have nothing to do with her, she will forever be tagged in. So it's just like, I can't even.
Yeah. It's interesting because people don't realize that she launched a series under, I think you and I talked about this at one point, a pseudonym.
Yes, she did.
Oh, Mysteries. Which I didn't know what that name was. I knew she had launched it, but I discovered it recently. I want to tell my mom about it because my mom loves mysteries. But I was also like, maybe it would be better than the Casual Vacancy.
Maybe.
The Casual Vacancy, I read like a few chapters, and then I was kind of like, I'm going to put this down now. And I think part of it was my love for Potter. Like, I had a really hard time adjusting the fact that she had let go of Potter. And I felt that as a fellow writer and as someone who is a creative type. Yeah, I felt really bad, even with my own self, just being like, why isn't she writing more Potter? Like, and then we get Fantastic Beasts, and it was interesting. I was discussing with a friend exactly what Fantastic Beasts was, and
yeah,
he's not really into Potter like that. He's full of Star Wars, so I was explaining to him Potter, and he was like, I'm very confused. He's like, so J.K. Rowling just takes things and just suddenly changes her mind on them. That's a very good way. Yeah, that's what she does. She just sort of hears things from her universe. People correct her on it, and she's like, nope, it's this way now.
I think the issue a lot of people have is that they feel like the universe isn't growing in a sense that some of the issues a lot of people had aren't being addressed. Like, for me, like, Fantastic Beasts, especially the end where, their nomad friend has to go out into the rain and, get his memory wiped because that's the way it is. Because muggles can't know of magic. And they're playing it like it's all tragic, but the way it has to be. And I'm like, this is horrifying. And the implications are not being addressed. And it just took me right back to reading certain Harry Potter scenes where I was just like, this is horrible. And we're just not going to deal with how, I hate to use this word, but problematic this is. Like, I mean, could we please deal with it just a little bit?
Well, and then they brought, they did a Marvel, in the commercial for Fantastic Beasts too. It was like Jacob was there, and I was like, we all knew he'd probably come back, but my God, now they've ruined that surprise for people that didn't put that together.
Yeah.
And like he didn't have, he was in the rain, and then she had the umbrella, but people were like, only bad memories, he only had good memories, and I was like, yeah, but if they let the fans kind of run with that, still doesn't excuse the movie for not explaining.
Well, no, it's fine, but you know that she's fine with plot holes. She'll just explain it after on Pottermore. Like, how did Umbridge survive? We can explain away all the plot holes. That's the thing I don't like. It's like we can explain away all the plot holes and everything in an interview after, or on Pottermore and in some additional material, and it's almost a way to excuse having to deal with lacking things in the work itself. And that bothers me, because to me it feels disingenuous in some ways. I'm like, is it actually that you're filling it in now, or did you not think of it? Like, I'd almost rather if you didn't think of it, you were just like, I didn't think about it. Like that Jessica Jones interview where they were asked about the diversity in the show, and they were like, I didn't think about it. And people tripped out, and I was like, you know what? I'm glad you said that, instead of saying some bull like, oh, well, actually, but like, no, if you didn't think about it, you didn't think about it. Like...
And that's fine. I haven't seen Jessica Jones 2. I've seen only the first one. I honestly haven't had the patience. Like you said, Marvel overkill. I just haven't had the patience to sit down and watch it. I tried. Yeah, I loved 1, and then I was like so hyped for 2, and then 2 came out, and I was like, oh yeah, it's out. Like, I watched it. And then I realized it's not making much of a buzz as the first one was, which I thought was interesting, and I don't know how much of that is because Infinity War is out.
I think also the dynamic between her and Tennant in the first is really intense. Like, it's really intense, and it works. And I'm like, for the second one, like, they have him there kind of in, like, memories and stuff like that, and, like, aftershocks. And I'm like, it's not the same, and it doesn't work as well. And also, for someone who actually read Alias, I was like, okay, so where are we going after this? Like, I have questions. I'll give it a chance, maybe, but I will. I mean, yes, of course I will, but it's going to take time. I have other things to watch as well, so...
And as a Potter fan, I mean, there's so many things I want with this game.
Mm-hmm.
I want better clothes. I feel like their clothes are really weird. I know that's a minor thing, but I'm like, when I'm out of robe clothes, why do I have just terrible clothes to pick up?
Did you see some of the complaints that I kind of low-key agree with? Did you notice that the hairstyles that could be considered ethnic, you could only unlock at much later levels? Like, like the curly hairs, like it's like the curly hair, the afro, the other stuff, like they don't come until like level 6 or 8. Like you can't choose them as base starter hairstyles. And I'm like, why not? What if I wanted a big curly afro? Why can't that be one of my base choices? Like, why are the hair choices stuff I need to unlock at different levels?
Yeah, I just kind of picked whatever was offered right away. And I was just kind of like, I guess so, yeah. And I did notice that there were hairstyles that I couldn't unlock right away. And I was kind of upset about that, too. I just thought there would be a plethora of things to pick from when you start. There isn't.
I agree with you on like the clothes and the fact that if you're wearing robes, which I chose to wear because I like that idea of like, I'm at Hogwarts, I'm in robes. Like you couldn't, like even glasses, you needed all this extra stuff to have, and I'm like, I would glasses, please.
I wanted to have mine wear glasses, and yeah, I was kind of like, really? I can't even get glasses? And like, the robes are fine while I'm in classes.
Mm-hmm.
Just the option to like...
And like, if they only cost money, it mightn't have been as bad. Like, like the gold coins in the game. But some of them cost gems, and they're like 100 gems for like this. I'm like, I am never going to have 100 gems, ever. It is not going
That's
to
a lot of playing. That's a lot of playing.
That is, and like when you win things, you only get like 5 gems anyway. So I'm like, I would have to be playing for so long to get gems for like this outfit or this hair. Like some of them, did you see like one was like 500 gems or something? And I was like, that's never happening. That is never happening unless I spend money.
And now on YouTube, there are people that are like, how to unlock the gems. Like, it's a lot of unnecessary stuff.
It's a lot of cheating that I don't feel like doing.
Yeah. Downloading weird things that might ruin my phone. I'd rather not.
Yeah. I need my phone for other things.
And just like the option of like, I want to wear a scarf with my robe.
Yeah.
So I can do that.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
It's sort of advertised as a lie.
It did present itself as something where you would be able to do a lot more than you actually can. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I know a lot of games do that to an extent, but normally you at least have most of the options, or like most of the lies, just that the graphics look way better than they actually do. But they normally have a little disclaimer at the bottom that you have to struggle to read, like, it's not actually going to look like this, don't be angry.
They should have that, like, video games may vary, depending on what it is.
It's just, I'm not here. I guess I'm just not here for, like, all of this grinding that I can't even do. Like, I played Pokemon. I know how to grind. I can grind it out if I have to. I've spent hours in the fields just walking back and forth trying to find low-level Pokemon to make my team all the same level. Like, I can do that. I don't mind. But you have to make it possible. And this game is not making it possible.
Yeah, that is, you nailed it on the head. Just I sat here playing for a while, and there was like energy level low, energy level low, energy level low, and I was like 99 cents, more gems. And I'm not doing this game. I'm gonna sign out and come back later. And it's like you said, it makes it impossible. With Pokemon Go, I don't remember having to ever pay anything. I don't think I ever had to pay anything.
No, like you could if you wanted to get like better balls, get lures and all that stuff, but I never did. And I never felt tempted in the same way that I do with this Harry Potter game.
I feel like because Pokemon, it was just like you can continue playing and you can pay, and then not. But this, it's kind of, I think they know that the fan base is hungry. It's like a ploy. They know that we don't have a game, so I sound like such a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, they know.
Well, they do know, though, and they know that the one thing, this fan base is really into merchandise. Like, not all fan bases are. The Harry Potter one is thirsty for any merchandise. You can slap Harry Potter on anything, and like, even have you seen the new book editions where you can get the covers in the color of your house? And I'm just sitting there like, I already own all the books, but I need like, and it's just,
I will take them all.
yeah,
Every single
I'll
time.
buy them again, like, or like they'll re-release them with a prettier, like a new art, like a new artist is drawing the covers, and I'm like, look at that cover. And like I'll sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, like I go through Hot Topic clearance a lot because I do like having pop culture stuff. Like sometimes I'll see something and I'm like, I don't need that. But the part of me that's all like Harry Potter is just like tempted and turns on in my brain. And it's all like, oh, look at that, you know?
It's the same way I am. Like I'll go into Forbidden Planet, which is a comic book store here, and I'll be like, oh, Potter merchandise. And I have a Slytherin cup, and I wanted to get all 4 houses, but none of the cups look very nice. But then part of me is like, come on, you know you won't get any better than this, so just buy this cup. This ugly orange that does not look red. Buy it. This terrible blue with like they didn't even bother to fix the raven in Raven. First of all, it's an eagle, but add the raven like out of the movies, and they colored it blue. Like, it's like they forgot to add the black to the raven, and it was just like Ravenclaw. And I was like, really, guys, really?
But they know.
Nope.
They know that people will buy it. And, like, that's the thing. And I'm like, oh, we need to be more discerning. We need to be more discerning.
I want, the way we can buy Star Wars clothes for adults, I want that for Potter. And I know H&M and all these little fancy, skinny-ass places release them. But for chubbier ladies, we don't have that option. Yeah.
No, you have to get the specialty stuff, like, you know, like the nerd online outlets, like Her Universe and stuff like that. But, like, that stuff is expensive. Like, I love Her Universe, and they have, like, such cool stuff for all sizes. But it's, like, you gotta pay, of course, because it's, like, an independent clothing maker. And I'm like, I appreciate that, but I can't afford to buy that stuff all the time. Like, I would like some mass-marketed stuff. Like, I go by the guys section so much, you know, and I see all the really cool logos and things, and I'm like, why can't I have this shirt? Like, this shirt looks so cool, and it's like just a cool comic cover or something, and I'm like, I want that, but in the lady cut. Like, that's all I want.
This is a guy's shirt. My Mega Man shirt is a guy's shirt. To my Forbidden Planet does a really great job of having women's shirts, comic book shirts. So I have some, like my Deadpool shirt is a woman's comic book shirt, and it feels, let's be honest, there's a difference between men and women's clothing and the way they feel.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, this actually feels comfortable and breathable. This isn't breathable at all. I have no idea what, do men not sweat? It's my question when I wear this. But a lot of my comic book shirts, very few are women's shirts, and often I'll get like a men's medium or small because I'll wash them to get smaller. But that's a common thing where I have such an issue with that too, where I'm like, I just want comic book and Potter stuff, and like most of the time it is in the men's section.
Most of the time I have to get my stuff on like a TeePublic or a TeeFury, which is those sites that support independent artists. So most of my stuff is like fan art stuff, because then you can get it female and it's no problem. It's like, it would be nice to have some official stuff, because there is some official stuff that I really like, but I'm like, I can live with my fan arty stuff. I just wish that there was an acknowledgement that there is a market for that. Like, maybe I will acknowledge it's not as big a market, but then just don't have as big a shelf. Like, you know, like you can give me a little shelf. It doesn't need to take up as much space. I would just like it to be there.
Interesting story. I was wearing my Hogwarts Ravenclaw shirt, and I went into a coffee shop. And the guy was like, oh my god, where'd you get this shirt? And I thought it was interesting, because like normally as women, we're the ones who ask the guys, get this cool shirt. And I was like, oh, online. And I remember it was like Amazon. I typed in like Hogwarts stuff, and it came up. And, you know, he was like, oh man, that's so cool. And then we started talking about the Potter game.
Yeah.
And he was like, how do you like it? Did you download the game? Like, he was really excited.
Yeah.
And I needed coffee. So I wasn't as, like, super hyped. I'm like, it's great. I like it, but I have some issues with it. And he was like, really? Like, he was almost offended. my, like, honest, sincere reaction. And I was like, it's good. And I'm like, what house are you? He's like, I'm Ravenclaw. Oh, I'm originally a Gryffindor, but, like, I tossle between Ravenclaw and Gryffindor. And he was like, oh, okay. And then he had like this weird other attitude with that. He was like, no.
Look, your house is your house. You're not allowed to dabble.
You're not allowed to be on the floor. And I'm like, I always use the Hermione or Neville example where I'm like, or Ron, where I'm like, he could have easily ended up in Hufflepuff.
I don't trust that hat. That hat doesn't know what it's doing, you know?
That hat is drunk. It needs to go.
Exactly, it does.
It had too much butterbeer. But yeah, there was this really weird interaction with him that was just very, he almost was offended that I didn't really appreciate the game for what it was. And I said, the game is like Batman. It's the game we needed, but not what we want.
The game we need, not the one we deserve.
Yeah. I was like trying to remember the exact line, and he just stared at me. He's like, what coffee do you want? And I was like, I'm just going to go plug in my phone and study for my classes in that corner. Now that you're giving me the coffee I need.
That's the thing that happens, though, sometimes. I swear sometimes with fandom, when it comes to merchandising, like sometimes you're so happy that something exists that you buy it even if it's not great. Like, for example, for Infinity Board, there was an eye shadow palette that came out. But it came out at Hot Topic. And I was like, Hot Topic makeup, though. Like, I'm not going to do it. But it sold out in like 2 seconds. And I'm like, the marketing opportunities that could have been used for better makeup companies, they just missed it. They missed it. And now there are people going around with Hot Topic makeup, which isn't... I'm not dissing it. I'm just saying it's not as high quality as other makeup that's out there. Like, if I had the choice between that and even, like, a tie-in that comes out at, say, like, Shoppers Drug Mart, which is, like, our drugstore up here, then, like, I would go for that. I just trust it more. I just... You know,
found this at a clothing store. I'm like, that's nice. Did your eyelids burn off? I hope not.
I know. Like, I don't know. Especially up here. Like, there's this thing where, like, I think I've told you before that box stores just fail up here because as Canadians, we just tend to shop at specialty stores. So I just have, like, this weird, like, thing whenever a store that is known for one thing starts offering me something else. I'm like, no, you don't know what you're doing. I'm not taking this.
It's the same thing with brands with me. Like, Spring... What is it? Irish Spring soap. Like, they're good at the bar of soap.
Yeah.
Like, their liquid soap was awful. Like, it dried up my skin. And I'm like, you guys don't know what you're doing. You guys only know bars.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing with, like, Dove, which I don't like the hair care products, but I like their body wash.
Mm-hmm.
So it's weird. It's the same thing here with, like, products in general. Like,
yeah.
I feel like do you know what you're doing, Dove? I don't think so.
And honestly, most times when I bought tie-in makeup, because it has happened, I'm not gonna lie, like, it has happened, it's rarely been as good as the regular releases. Like, I bought some Trek stuff. There was a Trek MAC makeup collab, and they're pretty good. I got 2 blushes, but I was triggered because none of the makeup looks like anybody's makeup on the show. I'm like, you had choices, and even my friend and I, we made like a fake makeup line for fun together, and he was like, we could have like Riker nude and like all of that stuff, and I was like, that'd be great, you know, like, because he was like the ladies' man, like Riker nude. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because even with Harry Potter, you have Harry Potter makeup tutorials, and I got really excited. I clicked on one, and it's just people taking house colors from regular like makeup palettes, and just being, here's red and gold, and you know,
Gryffindor eyes. Yeah.
Yeah. Slytherin eyes. And they'll have the tie on and everything, and they'll like, one girl did like an emo look for Slytherin, which I thought was hilarious. And then like for each, she did each character a different way, and I was like, that's an interesting way to do the makeup. But
it's funny, I did the same thing. I did a Slytherin lookbook a while back with Rebecca, and I remember like I bought like my black lipsticks and my green lipsticks and stuff.
I loved it. I saw it. I was like, this is really cool.
That would have been fun for the game, though. Like, you know, if it had other options like that, and like you could still stay inside the color scheme if you wanted to be like that, but like it had like sweaters and pants and skirts.
Also, I wanted to be able to do like dyed different color hair.
That
like,
would have been awesome.
We have blonde and red, and then platinum blonde. And I'm like, what if I wanted bubblegum pink like Tonks?
Yeah.
Or what if I wanted What if I wanted a mohawk to make her like a punk rocker? Because I just really wanted to make my character look completely outrageous.
No, and
For
it's
a
like,
year old with a mohawk.
especially with the solid colors. Like, I get maybe not wanting to do some of the more trippier, like, dyed stuff. It's a bit harder to animate. But I'm like, it's no skin off your teeth to add solid colors, you know? Like, you can add a pink and a blue and a green, and it's not going to hurt you.
And like Tonks, by the way, I was really hyped to see Tonks in the game. Like, in commercials, at least. I haven't met her in the game. But I thought it was really cool because she was sort of the way I imagined her, with like the slight faux pas.
Yeah.
You're like, okay. I imagined her a bit more punk rock with like an earring and a mohawk at one point.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll take this. How do you feel about the faces?
Well, like the options, or...
Yeah, I felt like, what's the difference? Like, I was going through all the shapes, and I was like, here's a bit more fatty cheek. Here's a little less.
They're very, like, yeah, the differences are very subtle, and there were some that I found just didn't work, like, at all. If you picked a certain other, like, face, part of the face, like an eye or a mouth or something, like, certain things just stopped working. So it's just, like, it was hard for me to find, because I like to make faces that are quasi-realistic. It depends on my mood. Like, sometimes I just want to make, like, a really super quote-unquote hot person. But other times I want to make, like...
So funny to me.
Like, a defined, like, person. Like, I'll pick something where it's, like, most of their features are pretty cool, but then, like, maybe they'll have, like, a quirk. Like, their ears will stick out, or, like, I'll give them, like, you know, like, lips that turn downwards, or, like, you know, like, different stuff, just to try and make them look a bit unique and like a person. And, like, coming from The Sims, I don't feel like any other character design metrics will ever be enough for me, but, like, this definitely did not have enough choices for me. It's the eyes.
I mean, The Sims do so much. I remember with The Sims when you could make them like... I had a friend who, like, would be like, come over and see what I learned with The Sims. And she made them do the, you know, would come up and she's like, they're having fun. And I'm like, are they? I don't think this is it. That's the way this works. But okay. I'm so excited about this. And then she's like, look, now it has a baby. So I don't think we'll get there with Hogwarts. But, you know, that'd be really weird. It's like, it will be a question of, like, do you want to make out? Yes or no? It's like teen pregnancy.
I remember people used to make patches for The Sims so that you could do that to make it more realistic.
Oh my god.
I remember, I never did, because some of the mods would really mess your game up, but, like, there were certain mods for, like, more realistic stuff that I would add to the thing. I was like, yes, I need to make this as close to real life as possible.
I don't know, the face thing kind of bothers me, because I'm like, it's just like a chubbier face or a less chubbier face. Like, I don't know, like, the eyebrows, too. I'm like,
there were only two, like, eyebrow options that really bothered me. The eye shapes, I think, were what got me the most. Like, I felt like very few worked. Like, I was just like, lots of them didn't really look like eyes to me. I don't know if it was just the shape of face I had chosen, but, like, only one set worked. And I was like, I feel like I should be able to plug any of these eyes in here and maybe not find them as aesthetically pleasing to me, maybe, but, like, they should work. Some of them, it looked like when you made, like, an alien sim and, like, their eyes got really huge and, like, took over, like, most of their face. And I was just like, oh dear. And it's not even like you had a slider or anything simple to adjust the positioning or the location or anything like that. So I was just kind of like, oh, okay. I almost wish that they just set up a bunch of defaults at that point. Like, put more effort into creating more stock defaults, kind of. And then you could have customized, like, some of the stuff around it.
Yeah. Like, because we're not going to see the eyes during gameplay anyway. Like,
well, you do, though, because they always pan whenever you answer a question right. And...
I forgot about that. And sometimes I just feel like... Do you ever feel like your character is just staring into space majority of the time when you're playing?
All the time.
All the time.
And also just with a dopey expression on their face, too. Like, they're not just staring, they're just like, do. And I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what are you thinking about? Start studying.
I felt really dumb. Well, so I was playing, and then it told me to do the ooh, into the pot.
Oh, yeah.
And I did that. I did that perfectly, because, you know, it's with your finger, it's really easy.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, needs more work. I'm like, now you're just being an ass, Potter. Now you're just saying stuff. Because I did that perfectly. And sometimes I'm like, is that a glitch? Is that on purpose to make you just angry? Or are they like, let's make this person question their, you know,
their skills, their dexterity.
Yeah. Hand-eye coordination. How do you feel graphic-wise in terms of moving? Because I feel like when moving, my game hasn't lagged yet. I feel like it's pretty fluid.
I fast track most places, so I don't do a lot of moving. Because it's just, to me, it's just tedious to move from level to level. Like, I would do it if you could interact with stuff or do things, but you can't, really. So I'm like, well, it's not like there's anybody additional for me to talk to, really, or, like, any extra cool things I can find, and most of the areas are locked until I get to that specific point in the story. So I'm like, well, if that's the case, I'm just going to fast track most places, and then deal with the little tiny cutscenes when they happen. Because if I'm going to explore, I want to be able to do stuff.
So my question is, as a Harry Potter fan, what do you think needs to be brought to these games to make them better?
To be honest, I think they need to be remade from a different standpoint, because I think that the very core concept of why it was made is very much geared towards wringing the most money out of people as possible. I don't think it's about creating the best game that they possibly could. So I think that we would need to do a really big rewind on the whole concept, take it back to the core, and it could keep the same story and everything. I'm okay with that. Like, it doesn't need to do something else. Like, I would like it if it did and was more open world, but let's say they just wanted to make, like, a tie-in game. That's cool. But, okay, we're going to do that. Okay, I want to just pay a straight-up price for it. If you're going to make it really expensive, please expand it to other consoles and stuff like that, so I can access it on the console of my choice. If I want that to be my phone, fine. If I want that to be my PC, my PlayStation 4, whatever, let me have that choice. And then, if that's the case, let's make it a real game. Let me be able to interact with objects. Maybe the other ones for other consoles cost more because I can do more. Like, let me interact with other consoles. Let me talk to other people. Let me have more options of characters to befriend and not befriend. Like, you know, just let it be like a real game where I collect companions and stuff like that.
Yeah, I feel like it's not a real... I hate saying this, but I feel like it's not a real game.
Yeah.
In some aspects. It's a mixed emotion I have with it. I struggle as a fan with this.
That's the thing. It's because I think it wants to be one of those mobile games that you pass your time on, and like you come to it and like spend some time. Like, if that's what you want, that's okay. But then you've designed it in such a way that the microtransactions are really invasive.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want, then okay. But then this wasn't a game that was really made because you were like, I want to give the fans of Harry Potter a game. It was a game because you were like, there are a lot of Harry Potter fans, and we can make them spend a lot of money on this game.
And, you know, it's like that one time you spend 99 cents for more gems or more life points. That's it, you know, then it's like down the drain the rabbit hole.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're just going to always be like,
yeah, like it's so easy.
Hermione should take a gun and shoot Voldemort.
That's not what we're talking about. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the video game. This was gonna happen one day. Did you hear him? Yeah. He always comes up with Potter theories. I'm like, that's not what we're talking about. Oh my god. But he's right though. Like, I questioned that for a while. I was like, why didn't anyone just shoot Voldemort?
I know, right? Like, if you use Muggle tech, like, a lot of things would be a lot easier.
He's so passionate. Anything Potter is just like, by the way.
I probably actually have to get going, though, because it's 11:15.
Yeah, we talked for 2 hours.
We did.
Hours of stuff with Potter. Yeah. But I had fun.
I did, too.
I'm so sorry about my dad's interruption.
Don't worry about it.
Voldemort that Hermione should have had a gun. But I'm glad we talked about Potter game.
Me too.
Hopefully they'll come out with a Potter game that we can all know and love.
Yes,
and
that would make me very happy.
Oh my god, I would. Yes. I would be so excited. And then we'd have a whole other Potter game to talk about.
But it would be positive.
Yeah. I rewatched the Quidditch Cup.
Oh, yeah.
And this guy was like, I was like, oh, I thought it was a new game. And I clicked, and it was just clickbait.
Yeah.
And he was just replaying the game that I had from when I was a kid. And it was like, every other character, he was like, oh my god, he looks so sad. I'll just pick him to play. And I was like, yeah. Anyway, definitely we'll plan Infinity War.
Yes. All right, enjoy the rest of your night.
You too. I'm sorry again about my cat.
No, it's fine.
Emily, have a good evening, and happy birthday to your little one.
Oh, thank you. All right, we'll talk soon.
Talk soon.
Bye. If you made it to the end, as always, you are troopers. And if you love this game, I'm so sorry. Please let me know that you made it to the end by letting me know your opinion on this game and just what kind of Harry Potter game you would like to see in the future. As always, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to watch, or in this case most likely listen to a convo about fandom. I know that these are long, but intriguing, I hope. There are, of course, as always, many videos coming soon, so please stay tuned, and until then, let's get to the outro. Bye-bye. This has been Shipper's Guide to the Galaxy. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Special thanks to all of my patrons' names on the side. There are, as always, new videos coming soon, so stay tuned, for there are as many ships out there as there are stars in the sky.